I'm doing well. How are you all?
Doing great. Thanks for calling us and joining us on a weekly basis as you do. So, Mr. Polis is now our governor of this fine state of Colorado, and he had a little speech the other day, and you guys had sort of a rebuttal or response to that speech. What was it?
We sure did. And that's today I wanted to run through what he said in the speech, just sort of to make everyone aware, better to know what we're up against. But yeah, our response is sort of that we understand, Polis talks about Colorado for everyone, and it's all inclusive. And we want to make sure that, on his mind is the struggling community. So it's an an economic Colorado for everyone, as well as, the social stuff that he talks about a lot.
Okay. And go ahead, keep going. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So that's basically what our statement that we released today, and hopefully some of the news will pick that up. But I have a list of all the things he wants to spend money on.
Let's hear it. Yeah, let's hear it. I want to hear. Dan, what are you doing over there? Hold on.
I'm holding on to my billfold really tight.
Oh, Dan's over there holding on his wallet.
Yeah, everyone should do that right now. Go find your wallet. Hold on.
Grab onto it.
Look
at that money. Give it a little kiss and say, I want to keep you.
I want to keep you.
Well, all right. This is what we're up against.
Okay.
So he gave a State of the State speech today is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And almost half of it's interesting because he started off talking about education, and that was almost half of his speech. So a lot of priorities there. Whereas last week when the legislature started, we heard their priority was paying for paid family leave. So Polis did mention that in his speech, but it wasn't the top priority, which is
that's actually good.
There might be a little, that they're not exactly on the same page.
Okay,
it could be a good thing. So his top priority is free full day kindergarten, which he expects to have by fall 2019. We are in 2019 now, so he's expecting that by next
free
fall.
Full day kindergarten. And
all
staff why we need that?
There you go.
So he says that we have the resources to do this now. He's talking about the surplus, the $1 billion state surplus, using part of that. Whether that will actually pay for all of it. He also wants to expand free preschool for families that want it. So I don't have answers here. I'm just listing what he's talking
Sure,
about.
makes sense to me.
Let's keep one thing in mind, too. When the Democrats say they're talking about, education is their top priority, it's not really what they mean. They mean indoctrination is their top priority.
Good point. Go ahead. Keep going, Lindsey.
Yeah. Okay, so other education issues were educator loan forgiveness, so teacher loan forgiveness, and he also wants to address student dropout rates. Then moved on to, this isn't exactly in order of how he gave it in his speech, but he also talked about transportation, road funding, which he said he would spend $200 million on from the surplus that we have right now. But he also wants an additional funding mechanism from voters, which means a tax on the next ballot. Voters said no to that twice.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to say it again. So, I think they said loud and clear on this last one. We gave them two different options, and they voted both down.
Exactly.
Anyway,
so from the $1 billion surplus, he says he'd like to spend $200 million to fix our roads. Statewide broadband was mentioned, and then when it comes to energy, he noted the swift adoption of renewable energy. He's been working towards 100% renewables in his campaign. He's been talking about that. I was sort of surprised that wasn't his first major priority, but it's definitely in there. And he didn't give a lot of details, but, quote unquote, swift adoption of renewable energy. So see that coming.
So swift adoption of green energy. We're going to do this swiftly.
Exactly.
Okay.
And there's been some movement. Excel has said that they're moving in that direction. So he cited all of that stuff.
Okay.
Next thing, it's talking about healthcare. He said the only solution for healthcare costs is to be quote unquote bold. So he didn't mention what has been mentioned before of a state-run health insurance program. He didn't talk about that. He did create an office of saving people money on health care. That's the name of the office. And Lieutenant Governor Primavera is in charge of that.
Okay. State Office of Health Care.
It's saving people money on health care.
Saving people
That's
money
the name
on healthcare, correct.
of the office.
Saving people
Saving people money on
healthcare. That's the name of the office.
That's the name of the office.
Wow, that's a long title. Okay.
It is. So we'll see what comes out of that office. He talked about paid family leave for state employees, like I talked about, and full funding for the Colorado Water Plan.
What is that?
So, I don't exactly know. It's on my list of things to look into, so maybe we can talk about it next week.
Okay.
But it's something that's already been in place. He talked about a new woman who's running the agriculture department, so I'll look into that and give you more information next week.
Make sure I get this. I'm putting this in my notes as well, so we can some of these things we can tackle through the weeks ahead. Colorado Water Plan. Make sure I got that correct. Yeah. Okay. There's actually a website for it, so those of you interested, you can go to it, and if you Google Colorado Water Plan, it comes right up. So you have to go through and read that. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other things were reforming the tax code and criminal justice reform. So there we have it. And he's got a budget package coming out next week, so we'll get more numbers, I guess, in that, and we can talk about that when it comes out.
So out of this $1 billion surplus, again, how much does he want to spend on roads?
$200 million.
$200 million.
$200 million.
A quarter, basically. Not quite. Quarter of it.
Right.
Okay.
So Republicans in the legislature have said that's their major priority. So we're in the minority. We'll just see what happens. Hopefully,
so the one thing that we just had our energy person on joins us on a monthly basis as well, talking a little bit about potentially legislation to change the oil and gas industry and so on. I assume that would come under that swift adoption of green energy if we do anything with oil and gas.
Yeah, and he did mention wanting a policy that works for people who work in the energy industry now, and being mindful of that. So that's hopeful for the oil and gas industry, at least that he mentioned it in the speech. We'll see. And I know you have Patrick Neville coming on a little later.
Yes, we do.
You can give some more inside baseball on how that's going.
Perfect. Lindsey, as always, appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Talk to you
Very welcome. Have a great afternoon. Lindsey Singer, Colorado Rising. Appreciate it very much. Rising Action, I should say. Let's do this.